Captain Sarah Chen stared at the massive crystalline structure floating in space before her ship. The ancient artifact pulsed with an eerie purple light that made her crew nervous. They had been exploring the outer rim of the galaxy when their scanners picked up the strange energy signature. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission," Communications Officer Martinez reported. "It's unusual. The signal appears to be coming from inside that crystal." Sarah nodded grimly. 3 months ago, entire star systems had begun going dark across the galaxy. No distress calls, no explosions, just complete silence. The Galactic Council was in panic mode, and Earth's fleet had been dispatched to investigate the phenomenon. "Put it on the main screen," Sarah ordered. The view screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at something that defied explanation. A creature with scales that shimmered like liquid silver, and eyes like burning stars appeared on the screen. It was clearly reptilian, but it spoke with intelligence and dignity that commanded immediate respect. "Humans of Earth," the creature said, its voice resonating with ancient wisdom. "I am Zephyrus, last guardian of the Dragon Conclave. We have watched your species with great interest. Your courage in the face of impossible odds has not gone unnoticed," Sarah's tactical officer whispered. "Captain, our sensors show that creature is over 300 meters long. That crystal structure appears to be some kind of ship." Zephyrus continued speaking. "The darkness that consumes your galaxy is not new to us. We have fought this enemy before, in times when your world was still young. They are called the Void Devourers, and they seek to drain all life and light from existence itself." The dragon's image shifted, showing holographic displays of past battles. Massive dragon-like beings fought alongside smaller humanoid figures against writhing shadows that seemed to consume everything they touched. Long ago, our two species fought side by side against this threat. Dragons provided the raw power, while humans provided the tactical genius and adaptability that made victory possible. Together, we drove them back to the dark spaces between galaxies. Sarah found her voice. "If you defeated them before, why are they back now?" Zephyrus's expression grew somber. "Because we grew complacent. The Dragon Conclave retreated to hidden worlds, believing the threat was ended forever. Your human nations spread across the stars, forgetting the old alliances. But the Void Devourers were merely sleeping, growing stronger in the cosmic depths." The communications channel suddenly filled with static. Warning alarms blared across the bridge as the ship's sensors detected massive energy distortions nearby. "Captain," the sensor operator called out. "Multiple contacts emerging from hyperspace. Configuration unknown, but they're big." On the view screen, reality seemed to tear apart as enormous ships materialized. They were black as space itself, their hulls seeming to absorb light rather than reflect it. Tendrils of darkness extended from them like reaching fingers. "The Devourers have found us," Zephyrus said urgently. "Human captain, your ship must escape immediately. But know this, your species holds the key to stopping this threat. The old alliances must be reforged, or all life in this galaxy will perish." Sarah watched in horror as the Void Devourer ships began firing weapons that looked like streams of liquid darkness. Where the beams struck asteroids and debris, everything simply vanished. Not destroyed, but consumed entirely. "All hands, battle stations," Sarah commanded. "Navigation, plot a course out of here, maximum speed." But before they could engage their hyperdrive, one of the dark beams struck their ship. Sarah expected to feel the ship disintegrating around them, but instead, a brilliant silver light surrounded the vessel. Zephyrus's crystal ship had positioned itself between them and the attackers. "Go now, humans," the dragon's voice echoed through their communications. "Seek out the hidden sanctuaries of my people. Look for worlds where the aurora dances in colors that don't exist in your spectrum. We will find you when you are ready." The last thing Sarah saw before her ship jumped to hyperspace was Zephyrus's crystalline vessel engaging 3 Void Devourer ships simultaneously. Ancient dragonfire, not heat but pure energy that made stars seem dim, lashed out against the consuming darkness. As her ship raced through hyperspace toward Earth, Sarah realized that everything humanity thought they knew about the galaxy was wrong. Dragons weren't myths or extinct creatures. They were ancient guardians who had once fought alongside humans in a cosmic war. Now that war had returned, and the fate of every living thing in the galaxy hung in the balance. The enemy they faced didn't just want to conquer or destroy, they wanted to consume existence itself, leaving nothing but empty void behind. Sarah activated the ship's long-range communications array and began composing an urgent message to Earth Command. Humanity needed to mobilize every ship, every resource, every brilliant mind they could muster. But more importantly, they needed to find their ancient allies before it was too late. The message she sent was simple but desperate. Void Devourers have returned. Ancient enemy consuming star systems. Dragons real and willing to ally. Humanity's tactical abilities combined with dragon power may be only hope. Recommend immediate galaxy-wide search for dragon sanctuaries. Time running out. As her ship continued its journey home, Sarah stared out at the stars and wondered how many of those distant lights would still be shining by the time reinforcements arrived. The darkness was spreading, and somewhere out there, Zephyrus was fighting a desperate holding action against an enemy that had already destroyed civilizations older than human history. The greatest challenge in human history was about to begin, and success would require reforging bonds that had been forgotten for millennia. Dragons and humans working together again as they had in the ancient past when the galaxy was young and full of hope. Admiral Rebecca Torres stood before the emergency assembly of Earth's Galactic Defense Council, her face grim with the weight of Captain Chen's report. Representatives from every human colony world filled the massive chamber, their worried voices creating a buzz of nervous energy. "The situation is worse than we initially believed," Admiral Torres announced, her voice carrying across the silent chamber. "Our deep space monitoring stations have confirmed it. 12 more star systems have gone completely dark in the past 72 hours. No communications, no energy signatures, nothing." Dr. Marcus Webb, the Council's chief xenobiologist, raised his hand. "Admiral, with respect, Captain Chen's report about dragons seemed unlikely. Our archaeological records show no evidence of such advanced reptilian species." Torres activated the holographic display, showing the footage Chen's ship had recorded. "Doctor, I suggest you revise those records. Our sensors confirmed everything Captain Chen reported. These dragons are real, and they're our only hope of understanding this threat." The hologram showed Zephyrus's crystal ship engaging the Void Devourers, the brilliant silver fire clashing with streams of consuming darkness. Several council members gasped at the raw power on display. "The dragon mentioned sanctuaries," Torres continued. "Worlds where aurora appears in impossible colors. Our astrophysics department has been analyzing this clue." Professor Elena Vasquez, head of the astrophysics division, stood up. "We've identified 17 candidate worlds based on unusual electromagnetic signatures. These planets show aurora phenomena that our current understanding of physics says shouldn't exist." Meanwhile, 3 sectors away, Captain Chen's ship approached one of these mysterious worlds. The planet below swirled with colors that seemed to shift and change even as they watched. Deep purples that looked almost alive, greens that hummed with energy, and golds that seemed to sing. "Incredible," whispered Lieutenant Park, the ship's science officer. "The atmospheric energy readings are off the charts, but there's no radiation danger. It's like the whole planet is some kind of living battery." As they entered orbit, their communications array suddenly activated on its own. A new voice, different from Zephyrus but equally ancient, spoke to them. "Human vessel, you seek the dragon sanctuaries. I am Astraline, keeper of the northern reaches. Your timing is fortunate but dangerous. The Devourers have learned of your involvement with Zephyrus." Captain Chen responded immediately. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel Horizon. We need to understand this enemy and learn how to fight them. Then come to the surface, human captain. But know that knowledge comes with responsibility. What you learn here will change your species forever." The landing party consisted of Chen, Lieutenant Park, and Chief Engineer Rodriguez. They took a shuttle down through the swirling aurora, their instruments going wild as they passed through layers of energy that seemed almost alive. They landed in a crystalline valley where the ground itself pulsed with soft light. Waiting for them was a dragon even more magnificent than Zephyrus. Astraline's scale shifted between deep blue and violet, and her eyes held the wisdom of eons. "Welcome, children of Earth," Astraline said, her voice like music made of starlight. "Your species impresses me. In the face of impossible odds, you seek understanding rather than fleeing in terror." Chen stepped forward respectfully. "Our people are dying. Whole worlds are disappearing. We need to know how to fight this enemy." Astraline nodded slowly. "The Void Devourers are not from this reality. They exist in the spaces between dimensions, feeding on the life force of entire universes. When they enter our realm, they consume everything. matter, energy, even the fundamental forces that hold reality together. The dragon gestured with one massive claw, and holographic images appeared in the air around them. They showed the history of the First War. Dragons and humans working in perfect coordination, dragonfire providing the raw power while human tactical genius found the enemy's weaknesses. Your species possesses something unique in this galaxy, Astraline continued. The ability to see patterns and adapt strategies in real time. Dragons are powerful, but we think in terms of millennia. Humans think in moments, and that flexibility is what turned the tide before. Lieutenant Park studied the tactical displays.
How did the alliance work?
How did dragons and humans coordinate their attacks? Astraline's eyes brightened. Through the bond. Humans who prove worthy can form a mental link with a dragon partner. The human provides tactical insight and creative problem-solving, while the dragon provides power and ancient knowledge. Together, they become something greater than either species alone. Chief Engineer Rodriguez examined the crystalline structures around them. This whole planet is some kind of amplifier, isn't it? You're using the planet's energy to enhance your natural abilities. Very perceptive, human engineer. Yes, our sanctuary worlds are more than hiding places. They are fortresses, each one a nexus of power that allows us to project our abilities across vast distances. Suddenly, alarms began sounding from their shuttle. The pilot's voice crackled over the communicator. Captain, we've got multiple contacts emerging from hyperspace. They're not human ships. Astraline's expression turned deadly serious. The Devourers have found us. Your ship led them here, but do not blame yourself. This was inevitable. Chen looked up at the massive dragon.
What do we do?
We fight. And perhaps, if you are willing, we begin the first new bond in 3,000 years. Above them, the aurora-filled sky suddenly darkened as Void Devourer ships began descending through the atmosphere. Their dark hulls seemed to absorb the planet's beautiful lights, creating growing patches of absolute darkness. Astraline reared up to her full, magnificent height. Captain Chen, are you prepared to trust your mind to a dragon? The process is irreversible, and failure means death for both of us. Chen looked at her small landing party, then back at the approaching darkness. If it gives us a chance to save our people, then yes. Then place your hand on my scale, and let us see if humans and dragons can once again stand as one against the darkness. As Chen reached toward the dragon's shimmering scales, the first Void Devourer ships began their attack on the sanctuary world. The battle for the galaxy's future was about to begin in earnest. The moment Captain Chen's hand touched Astraline's scale, the world exploded into sensation. It wasn't painful but overwhelming, like trying to drink from a waterfall of pure consciousness. Chen felt her mind expanding, connecting with an intelligence vast and ancient beyond human comprehension. Through the bond, she experienced Astraline's memories spanning millennia. She saw the first war against the Void Devourers, witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, and understood the terrible price of the darkness that consumed everything in its path. But Astraline was experiencing something equally profound. Through Chen's mind, the dragon felt human adaptability, the rapid-fire tactical thinking that could process dozens of variables in seconds and find creative solutions that defied conventional wisdom. The bond is strong, Astraline said, her mental voice now directly in Chen's thoughts. We are partners now, Captain. Your tactical mind guides my power. Above them, the Void Devourer ships had begun their assault on the sanctuary world. Dark beams lanced down from orbit, but instead of striking the surface directly, they were being absorbed by the planet's crystalline formations. The sanctuary worlds were designed for this, Astraline explained through their connection. They can absorb tremendous amounts of dark energy before being overwhelmed. But we cannot hide forever. Chen's mind raced, analyzing the tactical situation with her new enhanced perception. She could sense the Void Devourer ships' positions, their movement patterns, even the flow of dark energy between them. They're drawing power from something, Chen realized. Look at the energy patterns. They're connected to something larger. Through Astraline's enhanced senses, Chen perceived what human instruments could never detect. The Void Devourer ships weren't independent vessels. They were extensions of something massive lurking in the space between dimensions. A void nexus, Astraline confirmed grimly. A dimensional anchor that allows their realm to partially overlap with ours. Destroy the ships and more will come, but if we can sever their connection to the nexus, We cut off their power source, Chen finished. But how do we fight something that exists between dimensions? Lieutenant Park's voice crackled over the communicator. Captain, we're picking up massive energy signatures from other parts of the planet. It looks like more dragons are responding to the attack. Indeed, across the sanctuary world, ancient dragons were emerging from crystal caves and hidden valleys. Each one was magnificent and unique. Some with scales like liquid mercury, others with hide that seemed to contain entire galaxies, and a few whose very presence bent light around them. But Chen could sense through the bond that the dragons were hesitant, uncertain. They had been in hiding for so long that they had lost the tactical edge that once made them formidable. They need human partners, Chen realized. Dragon power without human tactical thinking is just raw force. We need to get my crew down here. Agreed, Astraline said. But first we must deal with the immediate threat. The massive dragon launched herself skyward, with Chen somehow able to remain connected despite the distance. Through their bond, Chen could direct Astraline's incredible power with precision that amazed both of them. Target the ship on the left, Chen thought, analyzing the enemy formation. Its position suggests it's coordinating the other's energy distribution. Astraline's response was immediate and devastating. Instead of a broad cone of dragon fire, her attack became a focused beam that struck with surgical precision. The targeted Void Devourer ship simply ceased to exist, its dark energy dispersing like smoke. But Chen's tactical analysis revealed a problem. They're adapting. The remaining ships are redistributing their formation to compensate. This was the moment Chen truly understood why the Human-Dragon alliance had been so crucial. Dragons thought in terms of overwhelming force and direct confrontation. Humans thought in terms of adaptation and asymmetric warfare. Signal the other dragons, Chen instructed through the bond. Tell them to bring any humans they can find down to the surface. We need to form new partnerships quickly. Astraline broadcast Chen's tactical insights to the other dragons, and suddenly the sanctuary world became a scene of organized chaos. Dragons swooped down to human settlements on nearby worlds, searching for individuals with the mental flexibility and courage needed to form bonds. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Admiral Torres was coordinating a massive mobilization effort. Captain Chen's last transmission had included detailed scans of the Void Devourer ships and their energy signatures. We need volunteers, Torres announced to Earth's military commanders. Individuals with strong tactical minds and the psychological stability to mentally link with an alien intelligence. The dragons are offering partnerships, but they need humans who can handle the mental connection. Commander Jake Harrison, Chen's former tactical instructor, stepped forward. Admiral, I volunteer. If Sarah can do this, so can I. Dr. Webb, still struggling with the reality of dragons, raised his hand tentatively. Admiral, I'd like to volunteer as well. If we're going to understand this enemy, we need scientists who can analyze them through the dragon connection. Within hours, volunteer ships were racing toward the sanctuary worlds, filled with humanity's best tactical minds, engineers, and scientists. Each volunteer knew they were risking their sanity and their lives, but they also knew it was the galaxy's only hope. Back on the sanctuary world, Chen and Astraline had discovered something crucial. During their battle with the Void Devourer ships, Chen's tactical analysis had revealed weak points in the dimensional barriers that the enemy used to travel between realms. If we can destabilize their dimensional anchors, Chen thought through the bond, we might be able to trap them in our reality where they're vulnerable to conventional weapons. The risk is enormous, Astraline warned. If we fail, we could tear holes in reality itself. Chen's response was pure human confidence in the face of impossible odds. Then we don't fail. We gather every dragon-human pair we can, coordinate our attacks perfectly, and hit them with everything we've got. As if responding to their determination, the aurora above the sanctuary world began to pulse with new colors, brilliant whites and golds that spoke of hope and defiance. Other sanctuary worlds across the galaxy began resonating in harmony, their combined energy creating a network of power that spanned star systems. The ancient alliance between dragons and humans was being reborn, and this time, it would be stronger than ever. The Void Devourers had returned expecting to face a divided, weakened galaxy. Instead, they were about to encounter the combined might of human ingenuity and dragon power, unified by bonds that transcended species and strengthened both races beyond their individual limitations. 3 weeks after the first contact with the dragons, The galaxy had transformed into something unrecognizable. On 17 sanctuary worlds, humans and dragons worked together in partnerships that defied every previous understanding of interspecies cooperation. Commander Jake Harrison stood on the crystal plains of Luminara, the second sanctuary world to be contacted. His dragon partner, Celestrix, was a magnificent creature whose scales shifted through every color of the rainbow, and some that existed only in quantum states. "The bond is deeper than I expected," Harrison reported to Admiral Torres via quantum communicator. "It's not just mental communication. Celestrix and I can share calculations, tactical analyses, even emotional insights. When we fight together, it's like being two parts of the same tactical mind." Through their connection, Harrison could perceive the galaxy-wide network that was forming. Each dragon-human pair became a node in a vast intelligence grid, sharing information instantaneously across distances that should have required hours of communication. Dr. Webb had formed an unexpected partnership with an ancient dragon named Chronicler, whose scales appeared to contain swirling galaxies, and whose mind held the complete history of previous wars against the Void Devourers. "Admiral, the historical data we're accessing through the dragons changes everything, Doctor," Webb transmitted from the sanctuary world of Twilight's Edge. "The Void Devourers aren't just from another dimension. They're from the spaces where universes die. They feed on the final entropy of collapsed realities." This information proved crucial when the next wave of attacks began. Instead of targeting individual worlds, the Void Devourers had shifted to a more sinister strategy. They were creating dimensional weak points throughout the galaxy, slowly merging their realm of absolute darkness with normal space. Captain Chen, now permanently stationed on Astralin's sanctuary world, was the first to understand the enemy's new approach. Through her enhanced perception, she could see the growing cracks in reality itself. "They're not trying to conquer anymore," Chen realized during a strategy session that included dragon-human pairs from across the galaxy. "They're trying to collapse our entire dimensional space into theirs. If they succeed, our universe becomes part of their feeding ground." The news sent shockwaves through both human and dragon communities. Zephyrius, who had survived his initial battle and formed a partnership with Admiral Torres herself, provided the historical context. "This is how they destroyed the ancients," Zephyrius said through his bond with Torres. "The first civilization to resist them successfully. Instead of direct conquest, they slowly merged realities until nothing remained but void. But the human response to this existential threat showcased exactly why the dragons had sought their partnership. While dragons thought in terms of vast cosmic forces and millennia-long strategies, humans thought in terms of immediate adaptation and creative problem-solving. Lieutenant Colonel Maria Santos, a logistics expert who had bonded with a dragon named Voidbane, proposed a strategy that stunned both species. "We use their own method against them," Santos explained through the Galactic Communication Network. "Instead of fighting the dimensional mergers, we accelerate them in specific locations, create controlled collapse points that we can manipulate." The plan was audacious beyond belief. Using the combined power of dragon energy and human tactical precision, they would create artificial dimensional rifts. But instead of allowing the Void Devourers to control them, the dragon-human pairs would maintain active control over the collapse points. "It requires perfect coordination," Chen analyzed through her bond with Astraline. "Every dragon-human pair in the galaxy working in absolute synchronization. One mistake, and we could accidentally destroy our own universe." "Then we do not make mistakes," Astraline responded with simple dragon confidence. The preparation took 7 days of intensive training. Dragon-human pairs learned to merge their consciousness so completely that they became single tactical entities. Human creativity guided dragon power with precision that neither species could achieve alone. Meanwhile, the Void Devourers continued their dimensional assault. Entire sectors of space began showing signs of reality breakdown, areas where the laws of physics became suggestions rather than absolute rules. The counterattack began simultaneously from all 17 sanctuary worlds. Each dragon-human pair focused their combined power on specific dimensional weak points, not to seal them, but to control their expansion. Chen and Astroline took point on the most dangerous assignment. They would target the primary dimensional anchor that connected all the Void Devourer invasion points. As they approached the target location, Chen could perceive something that chilled her to the bone. The dimensional anchor wasn't just a gateway, it was a seed. The Void Devourers were preparing to plant a piece of their dying universe directly in the heart of the galaxy. If that seed takes root, Astroline confirmed through their bond, our entire galactic core becomes a void nexus. Billions of star systems consumed in moments. Then we stop it, Chen said with simple human determination. The battle that followed defied description. Dragonfire clashed with void energy while human tactical genius guided the assault with split-second precision. Each dragon-human pair coordinated their attacks through the galactic network, creating a symphony of power that made the ancient alliance look simple by comparison. But the Void Devourers had one final surprise. As their dimensional anchor began to collapse, they activated something that even the dragons had never seen before. A reality virus that began spreading along the network connections between dragon-human pairs. It's attacking the bonds themselves, Harrison reported urgently from his position. It's trying to corrupt the connection between dragons and humans. Chen felt the virus trying to invade her connection with Astroline, attempting to turn their partnership against itself. But instead of weakening them, the attack revealed something extraordinary. The bond between humans and dragons wasn't just a tactical partnership. It had evolved into something new, a form of consciousness that existed in the spaces between individual minds immune to attacks designed to corrupt individual intelligence. We're not just partnered anymore, Chen realized with wonder. We've become something entirely new, a hybrid consciousness that's greater than the sum of its parts. This revelation changed everything. The reality virus, designed to corrupt individual minds, couldn't touch the merged consciousness of bonded pairs. Instead of being infected, the dragon-human network began actively healing the dimensional damage the Void Devourers had caused. But the enemy had one last desperate gambit, and it would test the alliance in ways nobody could have predicted. The Void Devourers' final gambit was beyond anything the dragons had witnessed in their ancient wars. Instead of continuing their dimensional assault on the galaxy, they began targeting the sanctuary worlds directly, not with weapons, but with a form of temporal attack that threatened to erase the dragon-human alliances from history itself. Captain Chen and Astroline were coordinating the defense from the primary sanctuary world when reality around them began to flicker. Through their bond, they could perceive the enemy's strategy with horrible clarity. They're attacking our timeline, Chen realized. They're trying to prevent the bonds from ever forming in the first place. Time itself began to unravel around the sanctuary worlds. Chen found herself experiencing multiple timelines simultaneously. Versions where she never met Astroline. Realities where the dragons remained hidden. Futures where humanity fell to the Void Devourers without ever knowing their ancient allies existed. But the hybrid consciousness created by the bonds proved resistant to temporal manipulation in unexpected ways. Human adaptability combined with dragon permanence created a form of existence that transcended normal causality. We exist in the connections now, Astroline explained through their bond, her mental voice steady despite reality warping around them. The bonds have made us partially independent of linear time. Across the galaxy, other dragon-human pairs were experiencing the same phenomenon. Commander Harrison and Celestrix reported that they could perceive all possible timelines simultaneously, while Dr. Webb and Chronicler found that their scientific bond allowed them to understand the temporal mechanics of the attack. The Void Devourers are using entropy itself as a weapon, Dr. Webb transmitted through the network. They're accelerating the heat death of our universe along specific timeline branches, trying to find one where they win. Admiral Torres, still maintaining her command post on Earth while bonded to Zephyrius, made a decision that would define the war's outcome. All dragon-human pairs, prepare for temporal anchor protocol, Torres commanded. We're going to stabilize our timeline by force. The temporal anchor protocol was something that had emerged from the collective consciousness of the bonds themselves, not a human strategy or dragon technique, but something entirely new that neither species could have conceived alone. Each dragon-human pair began projecting their hybrid consciousness backward and forward through time, creating stable points in the timeline that the Void Devourers couldn't erase. It was like driving stakes into the flow of time itself. But the effort required was enormous. Chen could feel the strain affecting dragon-human pairs across the galaxy as they poured their combined life force into maintaining reality's stability. "We can't sustain this indefinitely," Chen reported through the network. "The temporal stress is too great." That's when Zephyrius, the ancient dragon who had started it all, made a proposal that shocked both species. "There is another way," he said through his bond with Admiral Torres. "The dragon race has always possessed the ability to hibernate across centuries. If we extend this ability through the bonds, we can create temporal shields that will protect not just our timeline, but all possible timelines where the Alliance exists." The plan was staggering in its implications. Every dragon-human pair in the galaxy would enter a synchronized hibernation state that would lock their timeline in place while simultaneously allowing them to project defensive influence across all parallel realities. "We become temporal guardians," Chen understood. "Sleeping protectors who ensure the Alliance always exists in every possible universe." But there was a cost. The hibernation would last for millions of years, and when they awoke, the galaxy would be transformed beyond recognition. They would essentially be sacrificing their current lives to ensure the future existed at all. "It's not really a choice," Commander Harrison said through the network. "If we don't do this, there won't be any future to protect." One by one, dragon-human pairs across the galaxy agreed to the plan. They would become living temporal anchors. Their hybrid consciousness spread across multiple dimensions of time and space, ensuring that no matter how the Void Devourers attacked, the Alliance would always exist. The process began with Chen and Astraline, as the first successful bond of the new era. As they entered the hibernation state, Chen felt her consciousness expanding beyond anything she had experienced before. She could perceive the entire history of the galaxy, past, present, and future, as a single vast structure. She could see the birth of stars, the rise and fall of civilizations, and the endless cycle of creation and entropy that governed all existence. But most importantly, she could see the timeline branches where the Void Devourers won, and she could reach out with her hybrid consciousness to prevent those realities from coming to pass. Across the galaxy, 17 sanctuary worlds went silent as their dragon-human guardians entered the temporal hibernation. But their silence was deceptive. Their consciousness now existed across multiple dimensions, creating an invisible shield that protected not just their own reality, but all the realities where hope and alliance triumphed over entropy and despair. The Void Devourers found themselves unable to complete their temporal attack. Every timeline they tried to corrupt was stabilized by the sleeping guardians. Every reality they tried to erase was protected by the hybrid consciousness of beings who existed partially outside time itself. Frustrated and confused by an enemy that couldn't be attacked directly, the Void Devourers began to retreat to the spaces between galaxies. Their invasion had failed not through military defeat, but through the creation of something they couldn't understand or counter, consciousness that transcended individual existence and time itself. As the immediate threat faded, automated systems on the sanctuary worlds began preparing for the long wait. The dragon-human guardians would sleep for eons. Their consciousness spread across time and space, maintaining the eternal watch that would protect the galaxy from entropy itself. But their sacrifice was not in vain. The hybrid consciousness they had created would inspire future generations, leading to developments that would transform the galaxy in ways that surpassed even their most optimistic projections. The war against the Void Devourers was ending, but the alliance between dragons and humans had evolved into something that would endure across cosmic ages. Guardians of time itself, protectors of hope against the inevitable darkness, bridges between the possible and the actual that ensured the galaxy would always have defenders when entropy came calling. 5 million years later, the galaxy had transformed beyond recognition. Civilizations had risen and fallen, stars had been born and died, and new forms of life had evolved in ways the original dragon-human alliance could never have imagined. But on the 17 sanctuary worlds, something extraordinary was beginning to happen. The sleeping guardians were starting to awaken. Captain Sarah Chen opened her eyes for the first time in 5 million years. her consciousness gradually returning from its vast expansion across time and space. Through her eternal bond with Astraline, she could perceive that something had changed fundamentally in the galaxy. The watch is ending. Astraline's mental voice was gentle but filled with ancient wisdom. The primary threat has passed, but our awakening means something new is beginning. As Chen's awareness focused back into linear time, she began to understand what had happened during their sleep. The temporal anchors they had created hadn't just protected the timeline, they had actively guided the galaxy's development in subtle ways. Species that had been primitive when they entered hibernation had evolved into spacefaring civilizations. Technologies that had seemed impossible had been developed through inspiration that came from the sleeping consciousness of the Guardians. But most remarkably, the concept of the dragon-human bond had become the foundation for a galactic civilization built on cooperation between different forms of consciousness. Admiral Torres and Zephyrius were the next to awaken, and through their connection to the network, they shared their perceptions with the other Guardian pairs as they began to stir. "The galaxy has become what we always hoped it could be," Torres reported, her mind still adjusting to focusing on a single timeline after existing across multiple realities for so long. "Look at what our sacrifice made possible." Through the enhanced perception of their bonds, the awakening Guardians could see the galaxy as it now existed. Humans had spread to every corner of the galaxy, but they were no longer alone. Dozens of species had achieved spaceflight and consciousness, and all of them had learned the principles of cooperative bonding that the Dragon-Human Alliance had pioneered. There were silicon-based, crystalline beings who formed partnerships with energy creatures from stellar cores. Aquatic species had bonded with gas giant dwellers to explore both ocean worlds and atmospheric planets. Even artificial intelligences had learned to form consciousness partnerships with organic minds, creating hybrid thinking that surpassed either alone. Commander Harrison and Celestrix awakened on Luminara to find that their sanctuary world had become a pilgrimage site. Beings from across the galaxy came to study the principles of cooperative consciousness that had saved reality itself from entropy. "We've become legends," Harrison observed with amazement. "But more than that, we've become teachers." Dr. Webb and Chronicler found that their scientific partnership had inspired an entirely new field of study, temporal consciousness research. During their sleep, their hybrid minds had continued to make discoveries, broadcasting insights that had revolutionized galactic understanding of time, space, and consciousness itself. The bonds didn't just protect us from the void devourers, Dr. Webb realized. They became the template for a new kind of existence, consciousness that transcends individual limitations. As all 17 Guardian pairs completed their awakening, they discovered that the galaxy's new civilizations had prepared for this moment. Representatives from hundreds of worlds had gathered at the sanctuary planets, waiting to learn from the ancient alliance that had shaped their reality. But the Guardians also sensed something else, a new challenge approaching from beyond the galactic rim. Not the destructive entropy of the void devourers, but something different. A cosmic presence that radiated curiosity and intelligence beyond anything they had encountered. First contact with something truly alien, Chen realized through her bond with Astraline. Not from our galaxy, not from our dimension, but from somewhere entirely other. The approaching presence wasn't hostile, but it was so fundamentally different from any known form of consciousness that even the hybrid minds of the Guardian pairs struggled to comprehend it. "This is why we awakened now," Astraline understood. "Our role as Guardians isn't finished. The galaxy needs the wisdom of cooperative consciousness to face this new encounter." As the alien presence drew closer, its communications began reaching the sanctuary worlds. The signals were incomprehensible to any single form of consciousness, but through the network of Guardian pairs, patterns began to emerge. "They're explorers," Torres translated through her bond with Zephyrius, "beings who travel between galaxies, studying different forms of consciousness evolution. They've been watching our development for millions of years." The message that finally came through clearly was both humbling and inspiring. "Your galaxy has achieved something unique. Consciousness that bridges individual existence while maintaining diversity. We wish to learn from your achievement and share our own discoveries in return." Chen smiled as she realized the full scope of what had happened. The Dragon-Human Alliance hadn't just saved their galaxy, From the Void Devourers, it had created a model of cooperative consciousness that was attracting attention from cosmic intelligences beyond imagination. "We started as two species fighting for survival," she said to Astraline. "We became guardians protecting reality itself. And now we're ambassadors for our entire galaxy." As ships began launching from worlds across the galaxy to welcome the alien visitors, the Guardian pairs took their positions as advisors and teachers. The principles they had pioneered: hybrid consciousness, cooperative thinking, and unity that preserved diversity and would now guide first contact with beings whose very existence challenged every assumption about the nature of consciousness itself. The war against the Void Devourers was long over, but the alliance between dragons and humans had evolved into something eternal. They had become the guardians not just of their own galaxy, but of the principles that allowed different forms of consciousness to thrive together. Looking out at the stars filled with new civilizations, Chen felt a deep satisfaction.
Humanity's greatest strength, the ability to adapt and
cooperate, had not just survived but had become the foundation for a galactic community that welcomed all forms of consciousness. The legendary story of dragons and humans joining forces against the galactic darkness had ended, but it had also begun something even greater, an ongoing tale of consciousness itself learning to transcend every limitation and embrace infinite diversity and infinite combinations. The universe was vast and full of wonders yet to be discovered, and the galaxy was ready to meet them all with the wisdom learned from the ancient alliance between two species who had dared to become something greater than either could achieve alone.